Everybody, it's Mrs.Sferr coming to you from her backyard. It's a little windy today. This week's letter is N, so I'd like to show you a lot of my bird houses where the birds make their nests. I have 5 on this tree. This is a favorite one. I don't know that there's any birds in these other ones. I think because the leaves are just coming out, they haven't decided to make their houses there yet. Over here, these are the favorite ones. There's a bird at that one right there, if you can see it. Oh, just flew away. And up on the top, birds fight for that one. They like the big tall one. And over here, this tree, we have 4 more. Here's them chirping. This one is a favorite one also. I don't know why. Guess it's just in a really good spot. There's a bird right up there looking at me because I'm by the nest. Also out here we have lots of whirligigs. They're fun when the wind blows. This one's fun. That one blows a lot. And this one too by the garden. Try and keep the birds away from eating the vegetables. So I like to sit out here in the spring and watch all the birds in the birdhouses. It's fun to watch after dinner, right when it's getting dark. The birds are very busy. Okay, now I'd like to read you a favorite book of mine. It's called The Best Nest. Hi everybody, here's the book. It's The Best Nest by P.D. Eastman. Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy he had to sing. This was Mr. Bird's song. I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world my nest is best. Mrs. Bird doesn't look too happy. Then Mrs. Bird came out of the house. It's not the best nest, she said. I'm tired of this old place, said Mrs. Bird. I hate it. Let's look for a new place right now. So they left the old place to look for a new one. This place looks nice, said Mr. Bird. Let's move in. Going right into a hole. But somebody else had already moved in. So they looked at another house. This one looks nice, said Mr. Bird, and there's nobody in it. Does that look like a good idea? You're wrong, said Mrs. Bird. This house belongs to a foot. So they went on looking. I like this one, said Mr. Bird. It has a pretty red flag on the roof. I've always wanted a house with a flag, said Mrs. Bird. Maybe this place will be all right. But it was not all right. I guess I made a mistake, said Mr. Bird. You make too many mistakes, said Mrs. Bird. I'm going to pick the next house. And here it is, right here. They flew in. They looked around. Isn't it too big, said Mr. Bird. I like this big place, said Mr. Bird. This is the place to build our new house. They went right to work. They needed many things to build their nest. First, they had some hay, then some soda straws, and broom straw, and some sweater string. They got some stocking string and mattress stuffing. They got some horsehair. They got some man hair right from his beard. Soon, they had all the hay, all the straw, all the string, and the stuffing, all the horsehair, all the man hair that they could carry. They took it all back to build their nest. Mr. and Mrs. Bird worked very hard. It took them the rest of the morning to finish the nest. "This nest is really the best," said Mrs. Bird. "I want to stay here forever." Mr. Bird was very happy too. He flew to the top of his house. He sang his song again. "I love our house, I love our nest, in all the world our nest is best." He was so busy singing, he didn't even see Mr. Parker coming. I could turn the page. Sorry guys, fingers don't want to work. Every day at 12 o'clock, Mr. Parker came to the church. Mr. Parker came to pull on a rope. The rope went up to the bird's new nest. Fingers don't want to work. The rope rang the big bell right under Mrs. Bird's nest. Bong, bong, bong. Mrs. Bird got out of there as fast as she could fly. Bong, bong, bong. It went 12 times because it was noon. 12 o'clock. When Mr. Bird came in, all he could see was a mess of hay and string and stuffing and horsehair and manhair and straws. Where was Mrs. Bird? "I will look for her until I find her," said Mr. Bird. He looked high, he looked low, he looked everywhere for Mrs. Bird. He looked down into a chimney, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. He looked down into a water barrel. Mrs. Bird wasn't there. Then he saw a big fat cat. There was a big fat cat smile on the fat cat's face. See the smile? There were some pretty brown feathers near the fat cat's mouth. Mr. Bird began to cry. "Oh dear," he cried, "the big fat cat has eaten Mrs. Bird." Mr. Bird flew off. "I'll never see Mrs. Bird again," he cried. It was getting dark. It began to rain. It rained harder and harder. Mr. Bird could not see where he was going. Crash! Crash! Mr. Bird bumped into something. It was an old birdhouse. The old house that Mrs. Bird hated. "I'll go inside," said Mr. Bird. "I'll rest here until the rain stops." Mr. Bird went in, and there was Mrs. Bird sitting there singing, "Love my house, I love my nest. In all the world my nest is best." "You? Here?" "Yes, Mr. Bird. I thought you hated this old nest." Mrs. Bird smiled. "I used to hate it," she said, "but a mother bird can change her mind. You see, there's no nest like an old nest for a brand new bird." And when the egg popped open, the new bird thought so too. So it really was the best nest. Now, if you're outside and you're walking around your neighborhood with your family, you could look up in the trees and see if you could find any nests. Okay, till next time. Bye.